The Xyrillian royal cruiser hung in Earth's orbit like a colossal, iridescent jellyfish. Its translucent hull pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, mesmerizing the throngs of humans gathered at viewports throughout the orbital station. Whispers of excitement rippled through the crowd as they anticipated the arrival of Crown Prince Xarloth, heir to the most powerful empire in the known galaxy. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez straightened her formal uniform, her dark eyes scanning the docking bay. A mix of human and alien dignitaries flanked her, all wearing their finest regalia. The air buzzed with tension and expectation. 2 minutes to docking, the computerized voice announced. Elena took a deep breath. This meeting could change the course of human history. Earth, a relative newcomer to the galactic stage, had been pushing for a trade agreement with the Xyrillians for years. The prince's visit was their best chance yet. A sleek shuttle emerged from the cruiser, gliding towards the station with ethereal grace. As it touched down, the assembled crowd held its collective breath. The shuttle's door dissolved, revealing a tall, willowy figure. Prince Xarloth stepped out, his opalescent skin shimmering under the bay lights. 4 arms emerged from beneath his shimmer silk robes, each ending in long, elegant fingers. His large, multifaceted eyes swept the room, and a hint of a smile played on his lifeless mouth. Elena stepped forward, bowing deeply. "Your Highness, welcome to Earth Station 1. We are honored by your presence." The prince's translator implant hummed to life. "The honor is mine. Ambassador Rodriguez, I have long been fascinated by your species." A collective sigh of relief went through the human contingent. So far, so good. But as Elena gestured towards the ornate passageway leading to the Xyrillian cruiser, Prince Xarloth held up a hand. "I'm afraid there has been a misunderstanding," he said, his melodic voice tinged with amusement. Elena froze, her diplomatic training kicking into overdrive. I don't understand, Your Highness. Is there a problem with the accommodations?" The prince's multifaceted eyes glittered. "Oh no, I'm sure they're quite luxurious. However, I have no intention of boarding that ship." A murmur of confusion rippled through the crowd. Elena's mind raced. Had they offended the prince somehow? Was this some sort of test? "Your Highness," she began cautiously, "if there's anything we can do to make your journey more comfortable." Prince Xarloth waved a hand dismissively. "Comfort is not my concern, Ambassador. I came here to experience humanity, not to be cocooned in Xyrillian luxury." His gaze swept the docking bay, settling on a battered freighter in the far corner. "That vessel, what is it called?" Elena followed his gaze, her heart sinking. That's the Rusty Bucket, Your Highness. It's a private vessel, not intended for diplomatic." "Perfect," the prince interrupted. "That's the ship I want." The docking bay erupted into chaos. Xyrillian advisors rushed to the prince, chittering in their native language. Human officials huddled together, furiously whispering. Elena stood rooted to the spot, her mind reeling. "Your Highness," she managed finally. "The Rusty Bucket is, well, it's a smuggling vessel. Its captain has a rather colorful history. It's simply not suitable for someone of your status." Prince Xarloth's eyes crinkled in what Elena assumed was the Xyrillian equivalent of a grin. "A smuggling vessel? How thrilling. I insist, Ambassador. Either I travel on this Rusty Bucket, or I don't travel at all." Elena's mouth went dry. The trade agreement, years of diplomatic efforts, Earth's standing in the galactic community. It all hung in the balance. And now, the key to it all wanted to gallivant across the stars in a ship held together by duct tape and prayers. How long do we have to prepare this vessel, Your Highness?" Elena asked, already dreading the answer. Prince Xarloth's translator hummed as he replied. "I believe the human expression is, 'The clock is ticking.' You have 24 Earth hours, Ambassador. I look forward to my adventure." With that, the prince glided past the stunned diplomats, heading straight for the Rusty Bucket. Elena watched him go, a single thought repeating in her mind. What the hell just happened? As the reality of the situation sank in, Alina realized she had less than a day to turn a smuggler's den into a vessel fit for royalty, and somehow convince its notorious captain to play along. The fate of human-Xyrillian relations now rested on the shoulders of the galaxy's least likely crew. The clock was indeed ticking, and Alina had a sinking feeling that this was only the beginning of the chaos. Zara, Lucky Martinez, slouched in a dingy bar on the fringes of Earth Station 1, nursing a glass of synthetic whiskey. The holoscreen above the bar flashed news about the Xyrillian prince's arrival, but Zara paid it no mind. Her focus was on the cards in her hand and the substantial pile of credits in the center of the table. "Call," she said, her voice raspy from years of breathing recycled spaceship air. Her opponent, a burly Centaurian with chitinous skin, growled and slammed down his cards. Zara's face remained impassive as she revealed her hand, a royal flush. As she reached for her winnings, a commotion at the bar's entrance caught her attention. 2 Earth security officers scanned the room, their eyes locking onto Zora. She cursed under her breath, calculating the odds of reaching the back exit before they could catch her. "Captain Zora Martinez," one of the officers called out. "We need you to come with us. Now." Zora's hand instinctively moved to the blaster on her hip. "Look, whatever you think I did, I can explain. This isn't about your activities, Captain," the other officer interrupted. "This is a matter of galactic security. Ambassador Rodriguez wants to see you immediately." Zora's eyebrows shot up. The ambassador? This was new. Intrigued despite herself, she nodded to the officers. "Lead the way, gentlemen. But I'm keeping my blaster." 30 minutes later, Zora found herself in a plush office, face to face with a frazzled-looking Ambassador Elena Rodriguez and a holographic image of the Xyrillian prince. "Let me get this straight," Zora said, pinching the bridge of her nose. "You want me to chauffeur the alien prince across the galaxy in my ship, the same ship you've been trying to impound for the past 3 years." Elena nodded, her expression a mix of desperation and annoyance. "Believe me, Captain Martinez, this isn't my first choice. But Prince Aharloth is insistent, and we're out of options." The prince's hologram flickered as he spoke. "Your vessel's reputation precedes it, Captain. I'm told it's fast, elusive, and has gotten out of more than a few tight spots. Precisely the adventure I'm looking for." Zara snorted. "Adventure? Kid, my ship's held together with spit and prayers. One wrong move and you'll be taking your royal bath in hard vacuum." "I'm willing to take that risk," the prince replied, his multifaceted eyes glittering with excitement. Zara turned to Elena. "And what's in it for me? Besides not getting thrown in a detention cell, I mean." The ambassador slid a datapad across the desk. "Full pardon for all past offenses, a hefty payment upon safe delivery of the prince, and," she hesitated, "certain trade route privileges that might be of interest to someone in your line of work." Zara whistled low. It was a hell of an offer, but something didn't add up. Why me? Why not commandeer a military vessel? Elena's expression darkened. "We have reason to believe there may be elements within our own ranks who might not have the prince's best interests at heart. We need someone outside the system, someone unpredictable, someone expendable." "You mean," Zora muttered. The prince's hologram leaned forward. "I assure you, Captain, your safety is as important to me as my own. I've studied your exploits. You're resourceful, cunning, and above all, lucky. Those are qualities I value highly." Zara leaned back, weighing her options. It was risky, potentially suicidal even. But the rewards. She could finally get out from under the thumb of the crime syndicate she owed. Maybe even go legitimate. "I'll need to assemble my own crew," she said finally. "People I trust." Elena nodded quickly. "Of course. Whatever you need. But you have less than 20 hours before departure." Zara stood, her mind already racing through potential crew members. "I'll be ready. But let's be clear. On my ship, I'm in charge. Prince or no prince. As she turned to leave, Alina called out, "Captain Martinez, the fate of human-Xyrillian relations rests on this mission. Please, don't screw this up." Zara flashed a cocky grin. "Relax, Ambassador. They don't call me lucky for nothing." As the door closed behind her, Zara's grin faded. She had a feeling she was going to need every ounce of that luck in the days to come. The rusty bucket shuddered as it broke free of Earth's gravitational pull, its patchwork hull groaning in protest. In the galley, Prince Atzarloth sat at a battered metal table, his 4 arms folded neatly in his lap as he surveyed the eclectic crew assembled before him. Zara leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "All right, Your Highness, meet the team. We've got Grix, our engineer." She nodded towards a stocky Volreki with oil-stained tentacles. "Aisha, our pilot and navigator." A lithe woman with cybernetic eyes gave a mock salute. "And Korg, security specialist." The hulking, reptilian Draxian grunted in acknowledgement. The prince's multifaceted eyes shimmered with excitement. "Fascinating. Such diversity. Tell me, how does one typically bond with a human crew?" Zara smirked. "Well, sharing a meal is usually a good start. Aisha, why don't you whip up some of that synthesized protein paste?" Aisha grimaced but complied, returning moments later with bowls of a gray, gelatinous substance. The crew dug in with resigned familiarity, while the prince examined his portion with scientific curiosity. "Is this a delicacy among your people?" Atzarloth inquired, poking at the paste with a utensil. Korg chuckled, a sound like gravel in a blender. "Sure, if by delicacy you mean barely edible survival rations." The prince's translator implant hummed as it processed the sarcasm. "Ah, I see. A test of fortitude, then." With that, he scooped up a large portion and ingested it through a previously unseen orifice near his neck. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the prince's opalescent skin began to ripple, shifting through a spectrum of colors before settling on a vibrant purple. Your Highness." Zara straightened, alarm creeping into her voice. "You okay there?" Atzarloth's eyes widened, all 4 arms flailing. I feel most peculiar. Is this normal? Am I experiencing what you call a sugar rush?" Grix's tentacles writhed in agitation. Xyrillian biology isn't well documented, but I'm pretty sure they're not supposed to do that. "Shit," Zara muttered. "Aisha, get us back to the station. Korg, contact their medical team." "No," Atzarloth exclaimed, his voice an octave higher than usual. "I refuse to abort the mission over such a trifling matter. I insist we continue." Zora pinched the bridge of her nose. "Your Highness, you're purple." And feeling absolutely exhilarated. The prince replied, bouncing slightly in his seat. "I believe I'm experiencing an adrenaline surge. How invigorating. What other human experiences can we explore?" The crew exchanged worried glances. Zara sighed, realizing arguing would be futile. "Well, since we're stuck here, might as well teach you some survival skills. Grix, show the prince how to fix a faulty power coupling." What followed was a comedy of errors. The prince, still purple and now alarmingly energetic, enthusiastically tangled himself in wires, accidentally rerouted power to the waste disposal system, and managed to turn the artificial gravity off and on 3 times. "I believe I'm getting the hang of this," Atzarloth declared proudly, surrounded by sparking circuits and floating debris. Unbeknownst to the chaotic crew, a small drone hovered in the corner of the galley, its camera capturing every moment of the prince's misadventures. Back on Earth, a nondescript office hummed with activity as the footage streamed in. A figure shrouded in shadow leaned forward, watching the screens intently. "Is this live?" "Yes, sir," a technician replied. "Broadcasting on all major networks across human space." The shadowy figure chuckled. "Perfect. Let the galaxy see their precious prince fumbling like a child. Phase 1 is complete. Prepare for Phase 2. Meanwhile, aboard the rusty bucket, alarms began to blare. Aisha's cybernetic eyes flickered as she processed the incoming data. Captain, we've got a problem. Our broadcast systems have been hijacked. Everything that's happened in the last hour, it's been transmitted across the galaxy. Zara's face paled. You're telling me the entire galaxy just watched the Xyrillian Crown Prince turn purple and nearly blow up my ship? As if on cue, the ship's ancient communication system crackled to life. The stern face of Ambassador Rodriguez filled the screen, her expression a mix of fury and panic. Captain Martinez, she hissed, what the hell is going on up there? Zara glanced at the still purple prince, who was now attempting to juggle floating tools in the low gravity, a look of pure joy on his alien face. Would you believe me if I said it was all part of the plan? Zara offered weakly. The ambassador's glare could have melted steel. As Zara braced herself for the diplomatic tirade of the century, she couldn't help but wonder, how could this possibly get any worse? Little did she know, the real adventure was only just beginning. The rusty bucket limped through space, its hull still vibrating from the prince's latest improvement to the engine core. Zara stood on the bridge, one hand pressed to her temple, the other clutching a mug of synthetic caffeine strong enough to wake the dead. Status report, she barked, eyeing the sea of blinking red lights on the control panel. Aisha's fingers danced over the navigation console. We've managed to lose the paparazzi ships, but our little broadcast stunt has made us the most famous bucket of bolts in the galaxy. Half the systems we pass through are begging us to make port. Great, Zara muttered. Just what we need. More attention. Suddenly, the ship rocked violently, sending the crew sprawling. Alarms blared as Grix's tentacles flew across the engineering station. Multiple impacts on our aft shields. The engineer shouted, "We're under attack." Zara steadied herself against the captain's chair. Aisha, evasive maneuvers. Korg, get to the weapons system. Who the hell is shooting at us? The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a sleek, predatory vessel bristling with weaponry. Its hull bore the insignia of the Crimson Talon, one of the most notorious pirate factions in the sector. A gravelly voice crackled over the comm system. Attention, Rusty Bucket. This is Captain Drazkor of the Crimson Talon. Surrender the Xyrillian Prince, or be destroyed. Well, shit, Zara breathed. She hit the ship-wide comm. Your Highness, we've got a situation. I need you to get to the safe room we prepared and... The bridge doors hissed open, revealing Prince Aktarlov. The purple hue had faded from his skin, replaced by an iridescent sheen of excitement. Did someone say we're under attack? How thrilling. Zara groaned. Your Highness, this isn't a game. We're outgunned and... Oh, pish-posh. The prince waved a dismissive hand. I've been studying your ship's schematics. Did you know you have a full array of military-grade weaponry hidden beneath all this charming clutter? The crew exchanged baffled looks. Zara's eyes narrowed. Come again. Zarloth glided to the weapons console, his four arms moving in perfect synchronization as he input a complex series of commands. The ship hummed to life, panels sliding away to reveal gleaming, state-of-the-art weaponry. What the... Zara gaped. How long has that been there? Grix's tentacles writhed in surprise. The schematics never showed any of this. It's like the ship reconfigured itself. Another blast rocked the rusty bucket. The prince's eyes glittered with an unsettling eagerness. Shall we return fire, Captain? For a moment, Zara was at a loss for words. Then her survival instincts kicked in. All right, Your Highness. Show us what you can do. What followed was a display of marksmanship that would have made veteran gunners weep with envy. The prince's four arms worked in perfect harmony, targeting systems locking onto the pirate ship with unerring precision. Beams of energy lanced out, slicing through the Crimson Talon's shields like they were tissue paper. Yeehaw! The prince shouted, clearly having picked up some human expressions during his video binge. Take that, you scurvy dogs. Zara couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. Aisha, Plot us a course through that asteroid field. Let's see if our royal guest can multitask. The rusty bucket dove into a dense cluster of spinning rocks, its newly revealed engines purring with power. The pirate ship followed, unleashing a barrage of missiles. Incoming, Korg growled. I see them, the prince replied calmly. His lower arms continued to man the weapons, while his upper limbs took control of the ship's point defense systems. Lasers flashed, detonating the missiles in a spectacular fireworks display. As they emerged from the asteroid field, the Crimson Talon was nowhere to be seen. A cheer went up from the crew. Zora clapped the prince on the shoulder, then quickly withdrew her hand, remembering protocol. Not bad, Your Highness. Where'd you learn to shoot like that? Azarloth's multifaceted eyes twinkled with mischief. Oh, you know. Royal combat simulations, galactic strategy games, the usual princely pastimes. As the adrenaline of the moment faded, Zara felt a nagging suspicion grow. The hidden weapons, the prince's combat skills, the convenient pirate attack. Something wasn't adding up. Your Highness, she said slowly, I think it's time we had a talk about the real reason you're on my ship. The prince's expression turned serious. Indeed, Captain. But first, I believe we have a rendezvous to make, one that will reveal far more than I could ever explain. The rusty bucket drifted in the shadow of a gas giant, its systems powered down to avoid detection. In the ship's cramped conference room, tensions were running high. Let me get this straight, Zora said, pacing the length of the room. You're not just on some joyride through human space. You're on a secret mission to recover an ancient artifact that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Prince Karloth nodded, his opalescent skin shimmering in the low light. Precisely, Captain. The Nexus Key is said to unlock technology beyond our wildest dreams. Technology that could revolutionize space travel, energy production, perhaps even the nature of reality itself. Grix's tentacles writhed nervously. And you thought bringing this hunt to a smuggler's vessel was a good idea because, the prince replied, I needed a crew that operated outside the usual channels. You see, I have reason to believe that there are traitors within the highest ranks of both Cerulean and human governments. A heavy silence fell over the room. Zora exchanged glances with her crew, years of working together allowing for silent communication. Finally, she turned back to the prince. All right, Your Highness. You've got our attention. What's the next move? Before Xarloth could respond, the ship's alarms blared to life. Aisha's voice crackled over the intercom, tight with tension. Captain, we've got incoming. Multiple ships, bearing down fast. The crew sprung into action, racing for the bridge. But as they rounded a corner, they found themselves face to face with Korg, the Draxian security specialist. He stood blocking their path, a plasma rifle leveled at their chests. Sorry, Captain, Korg growled, his reptilian features twisted in a grimace. Nothing personal, just business. From behind Korg, more armed figures emerged, half the ship's crew, their faces set in grim determination. Zara's hand inched towards her blaster. Korg, what the hell is this? A necessary correction, of course, a smooth voice answered. A tall, elegantly dressed Cerulean stepped into view, flanked by more armed guards. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Lord Vexolia, chief advisor to the Cerulean Emperor, and the one who will be taking custody of our dear prince. Prince Karloth's eyes narrowed. Vexolia, I should have known you'd slither your way into this. The Cerulean Lord smiled coldly. Come now, Your Highness. Did you really think your little adventure would go unnoticed? It's time to return home and face the consequences of your impetuousness. Zara's mind raced, assessing options. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and trapped in a dead-end corridor. But she'd be damned if she'd go down without a fight. Now, she yelled, dropping to one knee and drawing her blaster in one fluid motion. What happened next was a blur of action. Grix's tentacles lashed out, wrapping around Korg's rifle and yanking it away. Aisha's cybernetic eyes flashed, interfacing with the ship's systems and plunging the corridor into darkness. In the chaos, Zara felt a hand grab her arm, the prince, pulling her towards an emergency hatch. "This way," Tarloff hissed. "To the escape pods." They tumbled into the cramped pod, joined seconds later by a panting Grix and a wild-eyed Aisha. Before Lord Vexalia's forces could regroup, they'd launched, streaking away from the rusty bucket. As the stars blurred around them, Zara turned to the prince, her expression a mix of anger and grudging respect. "I hope you've got a plan B, Your Highness, because we just lost our ship, half our crew, and any chance of blending in." Axarloth's multifaceted eyes glittered with determination. "Fear not, Captain. Our next destination holds more than just the Nexus Key. It holds answers, and perhaps allies." The escape pod's navigation system blinked to life, displaying their trajectory, a small, uncharted planet on the edge of known space. As they hurtled towards the unknown, Zora couldn't shake the feeling that they were plunging headfirst into something far bigger and more dangerous than she'd ever imagined. But as she looked at her remaining crew, loyal, resourceful, and just crazy enough to follow her into this mess, she felt a glimmer of hope. Whatever mysteries awaited them on that distant world, they'd face them together. And heaven help anyone who stood in their way. The escape pod shuddered as it entered the atmosphere of the uncharted planet, its heat shields glowing an angry red. Inside, Zara gripped the controls, her knuckles white with tension. "Brace for impact," she shouted as the pod plummeted towards a vast, purple-hued forest. They hit the canopy with a sickening crunch, branches snapping and alien foliage shredding as they carved a path to the forest floor. With a final, bone-jarring thud, the pod came to rest in a clearing. For a moment, silence reigned. Then, with a hiss of hydraulics, the pod's hatch opened, and the battered crew stumbled out. "Everyone alive," Zara called out, doing a quick head count. Grix's tentacles waved weakly, defined loosely, "Yes." Aisha tapped her temple, her cybernetic eyes flickering as she scanned their surroundings. No immediate threats detected, but this place is odd. The flora doesn't match any known database. Prince Aherloth stood, brushing debris from his once immaculate robes. His opalescent skin seemed to shimmer in harmony with the strange, bioluminescent plants around them. "Fascinating," he murmured. "This world, it feels ancient, powerful." Zara rolled her eyes. "Great. We're stranded on an alien world with no ship, no supplies, and a crazy prince on a scavenger hunt. Any other good news?" As if in answer, a low, rumbling growl echoed through the forest. The undergrowth rustled, and a massive, six-legged creature emerged. It looked like a cross between a panther and a praying mantis, its exoskeleton gleaming with an iridescent sheen. "Nobody move," Zara whispered, slowly reaching for her blaster. But before she could draw, Prince Axarloth stepped forward, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of peace. To everyone's shock, he began to emit a series of clicking sounds and low-frequency hums. The creature paused, its compound eyes fixed on the prince. Then, to the crew's amazement, it responded with its own series of clicks and rumbles. "Your Highness," Aisha hissed, "what are you doing?" Axarloth's multifaceted eyes gleamed with excitement. "Communicating, of course. This magnificent being is a guardian of this world, and it has much to tell us." For the next few minutes, the prince and the creature engaged in what seemed to be an animated conversation, filled with gestures, clicks, and the occasional melodic trill. Finally, Axarloth turned back to the stunned crew. "My friends, we are in luck. This guardian has agreed to take us to its people, the Exa theory. They are the custodians of this world, and if I'm not mistaken, the key to finding what we seek." Zara holstered her blaster, shaking her head in disbelief. "And I thought this day couldn't get any weirder. Lead on, Your Highness." The guardian led them through the alien forest, bioluminescent plants lighting their way as the planet's twin suns began to set. After what felt like hours, they emerged into a vast clearing dominated by towering organic structures that seemed to grow from the very ground. Hundreds of creatures, similar to their guide, but in a dizzying array of shapes and colors, moved about the settlement. As the group entered, all activity ceased, and every alien eye turned to regard them. A tall, willowy being glided forward, its exoskeleton shimmering with patterns that seemed to convey emotions. It studied them for a long moment, then emitted a series of complex tones. To everyone's surprise, it was Grix who responded, his tentacles vibrating to produce similar sounds. You can understand them?" Zara asked, dumbfounded. Grix's eye stalks swiveled in embarrassment. Yeah. Turns out their language isn't too different from an obscure dialect I picked up in my misspent youth. Don't ask." As Grix continued to converse with the Exa theory leader, Prince Outarloth's excitement grew palpable. "Captain," he whispered to Zara, "they know of the Nexus Key. It's here, hidden in an ancient temple deep beneath the surface." Zara frowned. "That's great and all, but in case you've forgotten, we've got a Xyrillian lord and a bunch of traitors on our tail. We need to focus on getting off this rock and clearing our names." The prince's multifaceted eyes glimmered with a mix of determination and mischief. "My dear captain, who says we can't do both? The Nexus Key isn't just an artifact, it's a weapon. One that could turn the tables on Lord Vexalia and expose the corruption in both our governments." As the alien sunset painted the sky in hues of lavender and gold, Zara found herself caught between exasperation and a growing sense of anticipation. Whatever came next, it was clear their adventure was far from over. "All right, Your Highness," she said with a resigned smile. "What's our next move?" The ancient temple of the Exa theory loomed before them, a massive structure that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Zara, Prince Outarloth, and the rest of the crew stood at its entrance, accompanied by a group of Exa theory elders. "So let me get this straight," Zara said, eyeing the ominous-looking doorway. "The Nexus Key is inside, but to get it, we have to pass some sort of test." Grix's tentacles waved as he translated the elder's reply. "Not just a test, Captain. A trial that will judge our worthiness and our intentions. Only those pure of heart and noble of purpose may claim the key." Zara snorted. "Well, we're screwed then. I'm a smuggler, Aisha's a getaway driver, and Grix. Well, the less said about Grix's past, the better." Prince Outarloth placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Have faith, Captain. Nobility isn't about titles or past deeds. It's about the choices we make in the moment that matters most." With a deep breath, they stepped into the temple. The air inside thrummed with energy, and strange symbols on the walls glowed with an eerie light. As they approached the central chamber, a booming voice echoed around them. "Seekers of the Nexus Key, prepare to be judged." Suddenly, the room shifted. Holographic projections sprang to life, surrounding each of them with vivid, personalized scenarios. Zara found herself back on her old ship, facing a choice between saving a group of refugees or securing a massive payday that would set her up for life. Aisha was in the cockpit of a ship, given the option to either betray her crew to save her own skin or stick with them on a suicide mission. Grix faced a scenario where he could either reveal a devastating secret about his past or let an innocent take the fall. And Prince Outarloth. He stood before a projection of his father, the Emperor, being offered the throne in exchange for abandoning his quest and his new friends. For what felt like an eternity, each of them grappled with their choices, and one by one, they made their decisions. Zara chose the refugees. Aisha stuck with her crew. Grix revealed his secret, and Outarloth, he turned down the crown. As the projections faded, the voice spoke again. "You have been judged and found worthy." A blinding light filled the chamber. When it faded, a small crystalline object hovered in the center of the room, the Nexus Key. Prince Karloff stepped forward, his hands trembling slightly as he reached for it. But before he could grasp it, a slow clap echoed through the chamber. "Bravo, my son. Bravo indeed." They whirled around to see a regal Xyrillian stepping out of the shadows, flanked by Lord Vexalia and a contingent of guards. Zara's hand flew to her blaster. "How the hell did you get in here?" The Xyrillian Emperor raised a hand, his expression bemused. "Please, Captain Martins, there's no need for weapons. Not anymore." Prince Karloff stared at his father, his multifaceted eyes wide with shock. "Father, what is the meaning of this?" The Emperor smiled, a gentle expression that seemed at odds with the tension in the room. "My son, did you really think I would send you on such a perilous quest without protection? Without purpose?" Realization dawned on Karloff's face. The whole thing. The human ship, the attacks, even Lord Vexalia's betrayal. It was all a test, the Emperor finished. The greatest test a future ruler could face. And you, my son, have passed with flying colors. Zara looked between the Emperor and the Prince, her mind reeling. "So let me get this straight. This entire adventure, all the danger we faced, it was all some elaborate royal exam." Lord Vexalia stepped forward, looking slightly abashed. "I played my part perhaps too convincingly. My apologies for any undue stress." The Emperor's gaze swept over Zara and her crew. "You have all shown exceptional courage, loyalty, and moral fiber, qualities that will be invaluable in the times to come." "Times to come," Aisha echoed. "What does that mean?" The Emperor's expression turned grave. "The Nexus Key is real, as is its power, and there are forces in this galaxy that would stop at nothing to possess it, forces that threaten both our peoples." He turned to his son. "Sarloff, you have proven yourself worthy not just of the key, but of the throne itself. But the journey ahead will require not just a leader, but a team." His gaze fell on Zara, a team of unlikely heroes from across the stars. Zara looked at her ragtag crew, then at the prince who had become so much more than a royal pain in her ass. A slow smile spread across her face. "Well, Your Majesty," she said, "I guess we're about to make galactic history. Again." The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with anticipation. Representatives from 100 worlds filled the chamber, their diverse forms a testament to the vastness of the cosmos. At the center of it all stood Zara, Prince Axarloff, and their unlikely crew, the Nexus Key gleaming on a pedestal before them. Emperor Zixlarian of the Xyrillian Empire stepped forward, his voice resonating through the hall. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, we stand at a crossroads of history. The Nexus Key, long thought a myth, has been found. Its power could reshape our universe, or tear it apart." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Zara caught snippets of conversation. Hope, fear, greed, all swirling together in a cacophony of alien tongues. The Emperor continued, "But the key is not why I've called this historic gathering. Today, we recognize not just the power of ancient artifacts, but the strength found in unity, in understanding, in friendship across the stars." He gestured to Zara and her crew. "These individuals, human, Xyrillian, Volraki, and more, have shown us what we can achieve when we set aside our differences and work together." Prince Karloff stepped forward, his opalescent skin shimmering under the chamber's lights. "Members of the Council, we propose a bold new initiative. A joint human Xyrillian task force dedicated to exploring the mysteries of the Nexus Key and ensuring its power is used for the benefit of all." The hall erupted in a mix of cheers and protests. A towering, gelatinous beam rose from the Phyrexian delegation. "And why should we trust the humans with such power? They are barely out of their own solar system." Zara felt all eyes turn to her. For a moment, she was acutely aware of her rough spacer's attire, so out of place among the glittering robes of diplomats. But then she remembered everything they'd been through, every challenge they'd overcome. She stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. It's true, we humans are newcomers to the galactic stage. We're brash, we're unpredictable, and yeah, sometimes we're a pain in the ass. A ripple of laughter ran through the chamber. But we're also adaptable, innovative, and when the chips are down, we don't give up. She gestured to her crew. Look at what we've accomplished. A smuggler, a cyborg pilot, of whatever the hell Grix is. Grix's tentacles waved in mock offense, working alongside a Xerillian prince. We faced down pirates, survived a crash on an alien world, and unlocked secrets hidden for millennia. Not because we're special, but because we work together. The chamber had fallen silent, all attention focused on Zora. She took a deep breath and continued. The Nexus Key's power is too great for any one species to control. But together, we can use it to push back the boundaries of the unknown, to solve the greatest challenges facing our galaxy, to build a future brighter than any of us could imagine alone. As she finished, the silence held for a heartbeat. Then, starting from the back of the chamber, applause began to spread. It built like a wave, alien appendages of all shapes and sizes coming together in a thunderous show of support. The Emperor raised his hands, calling for quiet. The Council has heard our proposal. We will now vote on the formation of the Joint Nexus Exploration Initiative. What followed was the fastest, most unanimous vote in Galactic Council history. As the chamber erupted in celebration, Zara felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Prince Xarloff, his multifaceted eyes shimmering with emotion. "Captain Martinez," he said, his voice thick, "I believe we just made history." Zara grinned, looking out at the sea of alien faces, no longer strange and intimidating, but full of possibility and promise. "Yeah, I guess we did. So, Your Highness, ready for our next adventure?" Zarloth's laugh was like chiming crystals. "My dear Zara, I believe it's only just beginning." As the celebrations continued around them, Zara couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. They'd set out on a simple smuggling run and ended up changing the course of galactic history. It was crazy, improbable, and absolutely human. And she wouldn't have it any other way.